Welcome to Super Bowl week edition of Dolphins in Depth. I'm your host, Miami Herald columnist Omar Kelly. Joining me is Miami Herald Dolphins beat reporter Isaiah Smalls, who is freshly off the Senior Bowl, fell in love with some prospects. We talked about that last episode. So if you haven't checked out the last episode of Dolphins in Depth to get some of his prospects, you should definitely check that out. But did anything in the game surprise you, Isaiah?
I think Nussmeier winning MVP kind of not necessarily surprised me. I just think that I was kind of surprised with how small he was as a quarterback, right? Like I didn't necessarily realize that. So, I'm standing side by side and I'm like, oh snap, we're like almost the same height, So it's interesting because, we've talked about before, like with now that they have Tua, right, and he's, a quarterback on the roster, formerly franchise quarterback, we kind of are looking for the opposite of that, right? And so when I'm looking at Nussmeier, I'm hearing him talk about, like I'm a great anticipatory thrower.
I look in windows, blah blah blah,
look at one, all that
blah
stuff.
blah blah blah.
My ears going off, and I'm like, no, sorry guys,
not really. Can't do it. Hey. No. Let me tell you two funny Senior Bowl stories that might change how you view that. Okay,
go ahead. Talk to me.
So the Dolphins in 2009, Bill Parcells, who ran the franchise, ran the organization, he infamously did not go to the Senior Bowl. It didn't matter whether he was a head coach or not. He did not go to the Senior Bowl for years.
Okay.
So in that year, 2009, it was a big deal that Bill Parcells was at the Senior Bowl. And hindsight told us he was there. What happened was he was there specifically to watch and see and evaluate Pat White, who David Lee, their quarterback coach, fell in love with back in his college time in Arkansas. Pat White was killing at West Virginia.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Pat White was like a legend in the college game. He came after Michael Vick, was not Michael Vick's size, was not that runner, but the Dolphins thought he was going to revolutionize football in the Wildcat, basically becoming what Lamar Jackson is. Okay. And so they drafted him in the second round. Pat White, they forced him to change and stop throwing with gloves. He threw with gloves and had a smaller hand. And they say the NFL ball is the same size as a college ball. This is not true. I'm telling you, this is not true because I can throw a college ball. I cannot throw an NFL ball.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever tried.
I've never. I thought that I've had an NFL ball, like an official football, but I felt like the football that I've always played with, growing up, in the backyard type stuff. So it became kind of natural. But
I don't think so. Not a lot of people have a real NFL ball.
Oh, I had a real NFL ball. Remember, my dad used to work for the league, so that's we had a real NFL ball for sure.
Yes. You should be benefiting from the nepotism since everybody's seen you is.
Look, I don't know, that black nepotism works a little bit differently than the regular nepotism.
It still works.
It do. But my dad did more so financial stuff. Like he was one of the first people that came in and talked to players about their finances in the 90s. So he was like a contractor with the league, not necessarily employed by the NFL.
Okay.
So happy Black History Month. I forgot. I probably should have said that earlier. So
that's true. That's true. Happy Black History Month. So basically the Dolphins went to the Senior Bowl to select, to evaluate Pat White, ended up drafting Pat White in the second round, made him take off his gloves to throw the football. He could not throw an NFL ball. Not only that, but he was elusive. He was he was a solid runner. So they tried to open up the playbook with the Wildcat with Pat White, utilizing him alongside Chad Henne. And that was during a period where the Dolphins actually drafted back-to-back quarterbacks in the second round, which is a good strategy, by the way. Yeah.
I know that you said that because you like the internal competition that for
they had John Beck at the same time, which was drafted by another regime. They drafted Chad Henne that year, basically got Chad Pennington to replace Chad Henne, but eventually invested in Chad Henne. But they drafted Pat White the next year in the second round to compete with Chad Henne. But that's not the point I'm making. Okay.
Yeah.
Dolphin fans will tell you the infamous playoff game where Pat White was hit by a Steelers player.
Mhm.
I'm kind of thinking it was Ryan Clark. I could be wrong. I can't remember. I don't think it was Troy Polamalu, but knocked him no, that was a playoff game. But it was a Steelers game. Somebody knocked him the bleep out.
Oh wow.
On the field. It was
Wow.
it was nasty.
Yeah.
Like the point where it was a two-hit. It was a two-hit. Let's be real about it.
Okay.
That's
crazy that's now the parlance and the term for getting. This is exactly what he did not want to happen. But
I know he did. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so Pat White was traded the year out. He never panned out after that. He was only here in Miami for 1 year because once he took that hit, once they realized he really couldn't throw an NFL ball, it was like they were done. And you know, that's what you got to do sometimes. I saw Pat White, who is from Alabama, Daphne, Alabama. He's also a coach in the league now.
Okay.
Or college. I can't remember where he's coaching right now. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. Went and sat in the stands with him. This is 2012. Because I'm there evaluating quarterbacks. The Dolphins are going to draft the quarterback. That was the year of Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III, Ryan Tannehill, and also a little tiny quarterback by the name of Russell Wilson. It was Russell Wilson and New Orleans head coach, who I can't remember his name now, but he was a former Boise State quarterback. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The Saints head coach. They were both there. Me and Pat White, we talking, we chopping it up. Pat's telling me about all the issues he had, all the struggles he had, the hit, you know, he couldn't see over the offensive line. So I'm literally thinking to myself, like, yeah, you were too small. We're about the same side. You were too small for the NFL. You couldn't see over the line. So then I go to the field. You know how you go to the field at Senior Bowl. And I'm there to talk to Russell Wilson. And literally, Pat goes to the field with me. And they're like fanboying over Pat White. Because, you know, at that time, Pat
White was. I'm very familiar. He was that dude.
Pat White was not like no slouch. Pat White was that dude.
Yeah, for sure.
And so Russell Wilson's fanboying over him, the Saints quarterback coach is fanboying over him. And literally, you know what I realized at that moment? Both of them were the same height as Pat White. I said, nope, can't do it. Cannot do it. Will not do it. Will not do it. So that impacted me, even though Russell Wilson was a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah.
If you had drafted him in the first round, you would have been pleasantly surprised. Fringe Hall of Famer. Yes, his career has flamed out in the last couple of years, but that happens. Joe Flacco's career flamed out. He's still making cash. Why can't Russell Wilson make cash? The next time I let the Senior Bowl influence me, like you're doing, was 2020. Tua Tagovailoa is coming out of that draft. Jordan Love's coming out in that draft. Justin Herbert's coming out in that draft. Somebody else I think went. The LSU guy, Carson.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's coming out in that draft. But Jordan Love's there. Justin Herbert's there. And I specifically go to interact, spend time, talk with Justin Herbert. You know why I want to talk to Justin Herbert? Because Ryan Tannehill had such a meek, non-leader-esque personality.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it again.
Yeah, you wanted the opposite.
You
wanted the opposite.
I needed to go and see what Justin Herbert's personality is like.
Okay.
Like a piece of paper in a notebook. It was his personality. And I thought to myself, absolutely not. There's
Okay,
one.
but like that's I feel like that's a little bit different. Personality, I don't really care about your personality, to be honest. I mean, that's not true. I think I care about your personality if I feel like it's gonna be a hindrance, right? Like I feel like if you are there's certain archetypes for certain positions, right? Like I like my DBs to talk some trash, right?
Be
That's
confident.
just what I want. I just want your DB to be confident. With a quarterback, maybe not as so much. That's why I know, in addition to a host of other reasons, I know that's why Shador rubbed people the wrong way because his personality was more so akin to his dad, which is not the personality that a lot of people want for quarterbacks. Now there's obviously a bunch of different reasons that I'm not going to talk about, but like that I know that for a fact that is definitely one of the reasons, right? And so I say that to say this. I'm not letting a personality affect me that much
But
unless it's like
what if you've spent 6 years, 7 years following a guy? I mean, being led, the team you cover is being led by a guy who wasn't a leader, wasn't charismatic. Nobody wanted to follow him, didn't have the it. And
yeah.
did you want to do that another 7 years like that?
Yeah, but I think circumstances are different. Like Justin Herbert though was like you're right. I think you can use that as a knock against him, but that shouldn't be the deciding factor, right? Versus Tua and Justin Herbert. I'm not even trying to play like the hindsight game, but I'm just saying I don't think that I would have let that one totally write me off on Justin Herbert. But
Yeah, no, I mean,
I can understand where you're coming from though.
my point is, I learned my lessons. I
Yeah, you
learned
learn the
from
lessons.
I learned my lessons. I learned from my mistakes. Yes, you can. I do dislike you with somebody, so you want to go do the opposite.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean,
Yeah.
literally, and I say this to you all the time. We all got a type, bro. You can stray from your type as much as you want. I would love to tell
Yeah.
you I'm gonna stop dating bad girls. Like I'm gonna stop dating attention seekers.
I feel that.
But
Yeah, I feel that.
I got a type, bro.
You got
Like,
that type. That's real.
do I
We all got
want
our
it?
types.
Do I want that
Yeah,
to be my type?
yeah.
No, but
It is what it is. That's the
it is.
reality of the situation. Okay.
All you got to do is know what you're working
Yeah.
against, and try
Yeah.
to, counteract it. But I've learned lessons throughout life. I'm trying to
Yeah.
share them with you, Isaiah.
Yeah. I feel that. I
Um,
appreciate the wisdom. I appreciate the wisdom.
Justin, and the funny thing is, I like Jordan Love better than I like Justin Herbert. Jordan Love has a
Interesting.
live arm. He's got athleticism.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's been sensational.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, understand he's still got a personality quirk issue.
Yeah.
But he's working that out in
Yeah.
years. I think he stepped up really good.
Yeah.
So, but lesson learned. But I
That's
also
real.
learned don't for. I've also learned at Senior Bowl. Tua taught me this: you got to see people throw live. You can't go like. I
That's
know
real.
Tua was injured during the draft process,
Yeah.
so and it was COVID, so he only produced a workout on video for
Hmm.
teams,
Yeah.
but nobody got to go see him throw live. They could only
Mm.
vouch for it have people vouch for it that have seen him.
Hmm.
But if I'm going, and you know how much I love Tua. I know it
Yeah.
doesn't
Of
seem
course.
like it now, but I
Yeah.
think, until his arm died on him, I thought he was a pretty decent, good quarterback.
Hmm.
Reality is his arm died on him. I'm not going to sit here and pea foot around what the issue is.
Yeah. That's real.
But but the first time, and Alan Popard would testify to this, anybody who was on the beat would testify to this. The first time I saw Tua throw in an OTA practice, I thought to myself, what the F? Like, I was like, that's the arm we saw at Alabama, and then I
Yeah.
thought maybe the hip injury impacted it, and
Yeah.
all kinds of excuses. But I was like, yeah, that's not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Um,
That's real. That's real.
and I'm pretty sure that was the reaction that a lot of people in the organization had. I know it for a fact. That was the reaction that Brian Flores had. I know it for a fact. But Tua was an anticipatory thrower. He was
That's real.
he had 4 first-round picks as his weaponry. Like, He had a NFL offensive line, so it looked a little
NFL running backs. Yeah,
NFL running back. It looked a little different. He was coached
true.
by the legendary college coach Nick Saban. It looked a little differently. But the one thing I've learned from that experience, so one, don't discount him because of size, because I made that mistake once with Russell Wilson. Even though I like Ole Miss's quarterback and I'm turned off by his size, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Two, you can't really don't just take somebody off your board because of personality, especially with a quarterback. Certain personalities are, I gravitate to alphas. I gravitate to dogs. That doesn't mean you need to have a whole team full of them. It just can't work like that.
Yeah.
You need to have people fall in line too. And just because your quarterback falls in line, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
But yeah, lessons that I've learned from Seton Bill. You've gone twice, so now
I've gone twice. Yeah, it's a fun event. I know a lot of people thought I was like some of my tweets that I was hating on Mobile. I love Mobile, Alabama.
It's a good city. Yeah.
It's a great city. Like you can get so much good food in Mobile, Alabama that like you can't even get here in Miami. Miami has a lot of great food options.
Absolutely, you cannot. There might be one restaurant. My former boss told me there's like a New Orleans-based restaurant here, seafood restaurant here. I've never tried it.
We gotta talk about
if it's still open, if it survived the pandemic.
You talking about that's how long ago it was?
Okay. Yeah.
Not be here. That's what might be close 5 years now.
Probably gone. But yeah, so that's where we are in the lessons. I hope you learning, you building things.
Yeah.
See the prototype of what kind of football players like, watch some drills, see movement skills of players based on the drills that they coach. It's a lot. That's why I definitely want you to go to Senior Bowl over here, because you learn a lot about talent evaluation, talent development, personality traits, things like that. Let's get to the topic at hand, which is, I think we're closer to having a completed coaching staff, even though there are other positions to be filled. To me, one of the major impressive milestones is that Austin Clark is still going to be here on the coaching staff, I think.
Yes. Defensive line coach. Yes. Joe Barry is also staying as linebacker coach. And then Sean Dugan was recently hired as defensive coordinator from Green Bay. I believe he coached linebackers in Green Bay. So I'm curious to see what, and linebackers to me are one of the strengths of this team. At the very least, Jordan Brooks is
not pass rusher, but
not pass rushing. I'm
edge.
I'm talking about the stand-up guys.
Okay, yeah.
So and to that end, there's a few guys at the Senior Bowl that I believe could seriously help this team. Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech, he was a linebacker that I liked. Very good movement, good in pass coverage. And same with Kyle Lewis out of Pitt, who displayed similar. He just was a ball hawk. Like he was just around the ball. That I believe it was that second or that third day. The third day. He was just anytime that the ball was thrown in his direction, he was either there to make a play on the ball, either swatted away. He had a few picks, but then also he was right there on those pass catches as well to pop them. Yeah, he forced a fumble that way too. I know it's thud and whatnot, but that boy was not thudding. It was not thud. So
he just wasn't taking people to the ground. I mean, it's a job audition. It is.
That's true.
It is what it is.
That's very true.
As I said earlier with the Jeff Hafley coaching staff, hire who you're comfortable with, because in year 3, when you haven't achieved what the expectation was, and I start calling for your job, like, I don't want the excuses. I don't want any excuses. Hire, put people around you. Like, that's the one thing I really had an issue with Mike McDaniel. What restrictions they were putting on Mike McDaniel when he became head coach. Mike McDaniel had to inherit people. He had to keep the defensive coordinator. He had to keep the special teams coach. And that's not an ideal situation. Those were forced on him.
That's not fair. Yeah.
And the Dolphins can say whatever they want. I know for a fact those were forced on him. And and then he got to fire the defense coordinator the year after. But you can't work in a situation like that. So
Who
I'm
was
glad.
the DC when he first got hired?
Josh Boyer.
Okay.
No need for you to even look him up.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm not even familiar with him. Like that name, at least there's certain names that I would know, but I'm not familiar with him at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what he's doing now. I think might be back with the Patriots. He came from a Brian Flores staff, and
Okay. Okay.
and basically he was one of the he is the defensive quality control coach at Ohio State.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was basically he got retained because he was one of the snitches on Flores. But anyway,
Ooh.
let's move on to another fun subject, which is 10 people were employed by NFL teams as head coaches. Not one of them was an African American. However, I will say this: Robert Saleh is a minority.
Yes, he is.
Tons of minorities were interviewed because now the rule is you got to interview two and you got to do it in person too. However, I will make the argument that I'm writing a column about. Just like in the real world, we pretty much know who we want to hire.
Exactly.
And and kind of knew John Sullivan was the front runner for the Dolphins GM job. And when John Sullivan got hired, I kind of knew who was the front runner for the head coaching job. Jeff Hafley got hired. Quarterback situation, I kind of know who these guys have worked with for the last 2 years, and he's available and probably going to get a respectable contract from a team, whether it be Arizona, the Jets, the Dolphins, who else? Indianapolis, Steelers. You know Malik Willis is gonna, and more than likely he's gonna come to a team that he's comfortable with. I mean, if he should be chasing the money though, but I don't know if I would take the money from New York. That's just a woo.
No.
That's a bad situation over there. But but how do you feel knowing that 10 coaches were hired and only one of them was a minority?
I mean, I'm not surprised, right? I don't know if you've read there's this great story that the Washington Post put out a couple of years ago just about the failure kind of I don't know if there's a pipeline problem, but I just think there's a hiring problem, right? I think like it's a little bit of both, right? And so to me, the biggest issue, when stuff like this happens in the NFL now, I'm not necessarily surprised, right? Like what all the owners look like, right? So you're not, and at the end of the day, to your point, people hire, their circles, and you know that at the end of the day, they hire who they feel comfortable with, right? And a lot of times, more often than not, those people don't look like you and me, right? And so it doesn't necessarily surprise me anymore. I just think for me, I'm interested to hear from a guy like Anthony Weaver, right? Someone who, obviously his unit did not perform the best last year, right? But look, we both know, and everyone on that Dolphins beat will tell you, like that is a future head coach.
That's a future head coach, no doubt about it.
You can just tell what the way he speaks, the way he
carries himself, the way he presents. Yeah, absolutely, future head coach. However, let me ask you this question about Anthony Weaver, because I'm not really surprised he didn't become a head coach this cycle because his unit didn't perform.
I agree.
If his unit had delivered back-to-back top 5 defenses in the league, do you think the outcome of these searches would have been different and he would have been employed as a head coach?
I think so. I think he might have been, just because the track record was kind of there, right? Especially considering you saw like he was building towards something, right? And if you're able to, and at the very least, that's what it seems like the NFL is. They try to do when they hire from these coordinators, right? Like if you can put together a good unit for a couple years, usually the next step after that is head coach, right? And so it's just rather unfortunate to the point, to both of our points, that because he didn't get that top 10 unit last year. Granted, look, there's very real reasons why, right? Like you throw out defensive tackles, like you try to replace. I said this earlier. You try to replace a guy who's an 18+ year veteran in Calais Campbell, right, with a guy who's 20 years old, right? Like that just
with 3 rookies,
yeah, 3 rookies. Like that's just not gonna work. There is football knowledge. He has forgotten more football knowledge than they have yet to learn, right? So that's just not going to. That's just never going to work.
Yeah.
Collectively, yes, combined.
Yeah, he has forgotten more than they have. All 3 of them collectively, even though you're 1,000% correct. Yes.
And so and I'm just starting. We're gonna start at the front. We're gonna go back, right? So from that standpoint, right, that unit wasn't gonna be good. Take a step back, go to the linebackers. Jordan Brooks, all pro season, like phenomenal guy. Tyrell Dodson was respectable. It was okay.
He had a solid season.
I
don't know why everybody out here acting like he was a slouch. Tyrell Dodson had 100 tackles, like 2 interceptions, 3 or 4 sacks.
Yeah,
like what do you want that man to do?
Respectable season, and plus you're playing alongside a guy who's playing at an all-pro level. What we need from you is just to not be the weak link, and I don't think he, by any stretch of imagination, I do not think he was a weak link.
Yeah.
I'm
like, what do y'all want that man to do? I keep hearing like, oh, he had a mediocre season. What did he not do? Please share with me what he didn't do.
I don't know about that. Take a step back and go to the defensive backs. When you sign 2 corners a week before the season, it's going to take
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks before the season.
No. Jack Jones was here for a month. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
You acting like that makes much of a difference. So it just Rasul Douglas came in and he balled. Like he balled. He showed
after a minute. Because remember, he said he wishes he had participated in training camp.
Yeah, because he would have. Yeah. And so then Jack Jones, I think this was his best season yet that he had in the league. Obviously, he had earlier where he had some, obviously earlier in his career, he had a few pick sixes, all that stuff. And like, that's fine. But I think this year was his most complete season, right? He's really grown at the position, right? You go in the back end, you have Minka, right? And Minka was straight. But the opposite of him, it was kind of mid, right? Like Ashton Davis, Iffy, they were okay. Like you couldn't really necessarily say anything terrible about them, but you can't say anything good about them either. They were the definition of mid to me. So you break all that down, right? And again, these are I'm naming
into a corner and ask you for an evaluation of Dante Trader.
So I'll get to that in a second. So I think you have both of the corner spots. Definitely the nickel spot too, because Jason Marshall Jr. You're having a guy playing.
You had like 4 people play nickel, so and Minka had to play nickel. That's not ideal.
Minka. So I think more than half of your defense, if I remember correctly, this is their first year playing in that system. To me, that's going to take time. About half the defense, because Bradley Chubb, technically, I'm including Bradley Chubb in that group too.
He never played for Weaver.
He never played for Weaver. So when you have more than half of your guys are first year within the system, I think there's going to be some bumps and bruises, especially when you consider the youth on the interior defensive line. This was what's going to happen. The fact that
when they sucked early in the season, it was because the defensive linemen sucked.
Exactly, and they were going to hide.
And there was nothing you could do until they stopped sucking.
And they're not going to say, "Yeah, our rookie defensive tackle sucked." That's just not going to happen, right? That's exactly why he needs to be a head coach, because he went to that podium every day, protected those guys, said they're growing, they're doing this, that.
Then when they finally turned the corner, he was like, we knew it was going to be rough, but when they turned the corner, we got it together.
Exactly. Yeah. So look, I it's rather unfortunate that he doesn't currently have a job. I'm hoping that he'll get something soon, because he'll is a guy that deserves to have his shot at a head coaching position one day.
He will be just fine. Here's I'm not going to let you off the hook on Dante Trader. I'm sorry, Dante. I apologize. You caught an unfortunate stray. I was making a point about Mike McDaniel catching him in a lie, and accidentally Dante caught a stray because Mike McDaniel was like claiming that
I saw that
like
tweet.
Aronde Gaston Jr. Oh, the Dolphins had to have him. He was gonna be a great talent. Oh yeah. On a video, singing the praises of the talent that he's got with the Chargers. And I said, bull crap.
Yeah.
You had one. Everybody here knew Aronde was gonna be a baller. He's sitting there staring at you in the 5th round. And not only did you select one, you selected 2, but 3 people ahead of him.
Yeah, that's right.
Before he was picked. So you had your chance, and you knew you needed a tight end. Let's not act like the trade y'all was talking about, that trade that you made with the Steelers before the draft.
Yeah,
it was on the table, so you knew it was a possibility. You also knew Darren Waller was a possibility, but you know what I'm saying? Let's not be disingenuous here. Don't. That's the worst thing for you to do. Don't let me catch you in a lie. I could live with anything, but let me catch you in a lie. No. You're not gonna recreate history on me. No. And I know if Mike McDaniel wanted him, he would have been here.
He would have got him. Yeah, that's real. I agree. Dante Trader, I think, is a player that next year I think we'll see a little bit more from him, because I like the foundation that he's put. The thing that has really stood out to me about Dante Trader, you can ask anyone in the locker room who was there last year. Like, he is someone who stays under guys' wings, like all the vets. And it's not just the people at his position, right? It's not just Minka, right? He was someone who was getting resources from Jordan Brooks, getting resources from Rasul Douglas, getting resources from Bradley Chubb, just about how to make it in this league, and not just make it, to stay here, right? And when you have a young guy, exactly, when you have a young guy that is that committed to the process of it, to me, I think the future is bright for him.
Here's my problem with that. And it's not really a problem. It's just, did he show you enough flashes for you to say he's going to be a future starter in this league?
Future starter or star?
Future starter. Star is a whole different conversation. Future
starter, yes. Because I think there was mistakes that he made early on, like the missed tackle that he had against the Chargers. Like, he made that play by the end of the year, right? And so, to me, I just want to see growth in your gameplay.
Okay.
And by the end of the year, him and Minka, there was less talking going on. It was just like he would see where he was and then be able to react accordingly. And I think that's just growth, right?
It takes time.
And then leadership, right? He is one of the guys that I think can be a leader, at least among the young guys, right? Just because of his personality. And he is one of those guys that is there at 5 a.m. and I know you're not a big fan of the 16-hour days, right? But he's a rookie. He's a rookie in a 5th round pick. Like, I think those are the guys that I want you to see you there all day at the facility, because your next meal ain't promised, right? So
this you could come in, and this coaching staff, they can have a safety in Green Bay they want to add. They can have a safety that Eric Sullivan has always had his eyes on, that he wants to add. They can have a safety that they draft. And
there's some good safety. There's at least that boy Bud Clark, I believe, at TCU. Like, he turned some heads at the Senior Bowl, right? So there are safeties out there.
There is nothing promised to anybody on this roster except for maybe Devon Achane.
Devon Achane, all the guys that he listed in that little building
Patrick Paul,
Brewer,
Jordan Brooks.
Yeah,
I had an issue. They kept off Zach Sealer. Come on, man. Anyway, let me keep my issues to myself. So my thought on minorities and coaches, is the Rooney Rule effective? No. But you know what is effective? The draft pick incentive to having a minority taken from your staff and elevating them. I don't think, or an executive from your staff and elevating them to a higher position. I personally think that the Rooney Rule should apply to offensive and defensive coordinators, because it is a pipeline issue. The problem that most African-American coaches have is, one, they're on the defense side of the ball. And even though this is a year where a lot of people hire defensive coaches, and props to them for doing it, it's not a that it's hard for defensive coaches and even worse for special teams coaches to become head coaches because most of these owners are obsessed with offense and quarterback and need a quarterback whisperer and literally if you coach quarterbacks for 2 years, you are on the fast track to become an NFL head coach.
That's true. That's very true.
Don't let your quarterback be good because don't let your quarterback be good, even though he was good before you got there. Mm-hmm. You are on the fast track to becoming a head coach. And I think that more, if we're going to be real and everybody respects me, or I think they respect me, or they know I'm going to be candid, the African-American coaches always coach the running backs, the wide receivers. They never elevate to the quarterback. They never elevate to pass game coordinator. They never elevate to some coach offensive line, not a lot. And they're mostly on the defensive side of the ball, coaching the cornerbacks and the safeties. The position you gotta wrangle because they got personality. That's what the black people are always coaching. Mm-hmm. Now, why is that? Biases. People hiring people that they're familiar with. Look how many people got jobs this cycle because of what their last name is. No disrespect to anybody who got hired, but has Kubiak played a down of football anywhere?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. Well, let me ask Google. Clint Kubiak.
It's LaFleur.
He played at Colorado State. From 05 to 09.
Now the question is, did he play? Did he play?
He was a team captain as a senior.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So I think he played. Yeah. Okay. All right, hold on. I'm right here. Senior. Started. Okay, he started 6 games, but a pectoral injury killed his season. Played in 7 games, 6 starts as a junior.
At Colorado.
Yeah. Okay, as a sophomore, he started all 12 games. I think and then injuries kind of forced him to
But it is what it is. Nepotism is real. Props to those who got a job. Even and who Mike has benefited from who he knows throughout the league, and so to be real with you, so is Jeff Hafley, who runs in the same circle as Mike, the frat boy crew. So it is what it is, man. The question is, will it ever change? And I think the only way for it to change is if you are draft incentivized to hire African-American offensive and defensive coordinators. Not hire them as head coach, but actually elevate one and make him an offensive coordinator. Elevate one and make him a defensive coordinator. Maybe if you do that, you get an extra 5th round pick. These teams have done far less for a 5th round pick in this world. And it's about creating those opportunities for these people. And so that they can show you what they can do. Because if you're always dealing with a glass ceiling, which
that's cool.
Unfortunately, this is Black History Month. Let's be real about it. That's what African Americans deal with. There's a glass ceiling about how high you can go and what you can accomplish.
That's real. That's real.
That will help break the glass ceiling. So we'll see. But realistically, and I've been thinking about this, I only know one person who benefited from the Rooney Rule. And that's Mike Tomlin, and he was hired by a Rooney.
Yeah.
So think about that for a little bit. And we're talking 18 years ago. I don't know. Some people like Steve Ross. Steve Ross was going to hire a minority when he hired Brian Flores, and that's admirable, notable, respectable. Love it. But show me the person that benefited from getting hired because he got the exposure for the interview based on the Rooney Rule. Because I know Kelvin Shepherd, who the Dolphins interviewed down here. Love Kelvin Shepherd. I know he's going to be a head coach. Was he ready now? No. He has had 1 year of his defensive coordinator. But in time, we look 5 years from now,
Yeah.
he might be a head coach in this league, and
Yeah.
the process starts now. So on that note, we will be talking about the Super Bowl when we come back on Friday. Hopefully you're excited about the game, and we could talk about Malik Willis and what to do with Tua. It's not going anywhere. It'll be here all off season.
That it
So
will.
on that note, Dolphins in depth, we are out, and we will see you on Friday.